People went into Mission Impossible Fallout with high expectations. Those expectations were not met. They were surpassed. But not everyone loved this century's greatest action movie. So let's roast the critics and a few of you audience members who hated Mission Impossible Fallout. But before I get into the roasts, here's a review from a critic about a movie that we all know and love. Leave your answer down below if you think you know what movie this review is referring to. In this movie's nostalgia for simpler times, a single-sex world seems to be a key component. If you think you know the movie, answer down below, and I will reveal the answer at the end of this video. Now, let's roast the critics who hated Mission Impossible Fallout. Keith Ulick from Slant Magazine says, it misses no opportunity to prop up Cruise's indomitable earthly ego in service of what exactly? Because it's fun to watch, Keith. Didn't you ever watch a schoolyard fight, Keith? I did just last week. Of course, I got led away by the security guard because it looked like I was loitering, but I was just interested in the fight. Spoiler alert, the tough guy won. Have you ever watched WWE? Or what about a boxing match? Because we love watching crazy things. And that's what Tom Cruise gives us. It's none of this green screen crap. It's none of these, digital effects. He's giving us the real deal. And just for the price of a movie ticket. And an indomitable earthly ego? That every actor has. In fact, that's required of actors and movie makers to have an indomitable earthly ego. They wouldn't be motivated otherwise to do their job. We would not have cinema without ego. I would not be here, sitting in front of the camera, talking to you about Mission Impossible and all these other movies if I didn't have an ego. Just don't tell my wife that she's right. Nicholas Barber from BBC says, can you enjoy his knockabout adventures? Definitely. But can you care about them? Impossible. First off, other than the fact that if Nicholas were here, he'd be ribbing me like, hey, did you see what I did there at the end? I said impossible. I said impossible. Now, if there's any in my movie that the viewer is required to feel for the characters, I'd say it's this one. You're telling me that his unrequited love is about to be blown up. He has to save her, but even if he does save her, he actually doesn't get the girl at the end. That there's no emotional attachment there? Really? That's sort of a tragedy, slyly mixed in there. And I think it's brilliant. I feel for Ethan when he has to meet his ex-wife's husband. And he has to play it off as though they were just buddies. Even my 11-year-old daughter commented on how sad this scene was. She understood the gravity of the situation. Like, it's really sad for everybody involved. I'm not saying it's We Bought a Zoo sad, but there are definitely some grounded emotions in this film. Kirk Baird from Toledo Blade. Kirk says, MI Fallout grows bolder and bigger, turning into a series of eye-rolling whoppers by the end. He's complaining that the climax gets bigger and bolder, and a lot of times when we watch the final fight of a movie, there are no stakes. It's so projected that the protagonists are going to be okay. That's the time to go out and get a refill on your popcorn. Marvel, are you listening? But in Fallout, here, in this movie, I'm thinking, is this the end? Is this bomb gonna go off? Is Tom Cruise gonna get... It had me questioning. It even had me question Simon Pegg. Is he gonna die? I think of it as like the Back to the Future effect. It's like every little thing that goes on, you're wondering, well, how are they gonna get out of this? And then there's a bigger obstacle. How do you get out of this? It's like the match goes out in Toy Story. It's that moment. No! All right, let's bounce over to Tony Medley from Tolucan Times. Tony says, car chase is so plentiful and derivative, they put you to sleep. Had there been any more tension, there would have had to be a high voltage sign at the movie theater. A warning if this movie had gotten any more intense. Even Jeremy Jahns has the same sentiment.
It's like they're trying to make audiences around the world just simultaneously pass out from tension.
These are masterful chases. Absolutely stunning. And if Tony here actually did keep falling asleep during the movie, well, maybe it's his own fault for killing all his brain cells the day before, for pressure washing his house with a straw. Richard Brody from The New Yorker. If it's a movie as inert as this one, it doesn't so much answer the question, how was it made, as pose another one altogether. Why? Well, Richard Brody, M. Night Shyamalan made Trap. You liked that movie. Why was it made? Why did he do that? Or what about the Color Purple remake that you enjoyed so much? That wasn't necessary. We've already seen it. It's been done already. Why? Why did they make that movie, Richard? For the viewers at home, take a look at this. This guy, Richard, was Team Barbie in the summer of 2023. There's millions of Barbie stories out there. So why this one? Why did we get this? Why? Why, Richard? I'm just gonna ask this guy why every time he recommends a movie. All right, let's fly over to Jay Olson from Cinemix Tape. He says, Tom Cruise fantasy camp. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark, isn't that Harrison Ford fantasy camp? Return of the Jedi, Ewok fantasy camp. And the definition of camp, if you look it up, is it's so bad it's good. Doesn't that mean you ought to give this movie a fresh score if you're calling it campy? If it's so bad it's good, then you are inherently admitting that this is, in one degree or another, a good film. Lisa Johnson Mandel from At Home in Hollywood says, even the plot is lackluster. Couldn't the writer-director Christopher McQuarrie have come up with something a little more original than the tired old stolen plutonium shtick? Planting a bomb so that it poisons the major source of drinking water in Kashmir is kind of a brilliant plot. And it doesn't even need to be said. That's what IMF agents do. The reason we have these movies, their job is to keep dangerous chemicals and explosions out of the hands of bad guys. That's what we go to see a Mission Impossible movie for. What do you expect? You want the next movie to be Ethan Hunt searching for a lost baseball for a little boy in the neighborhood? Oh, let's make that into a big giant blockbuster film. All right, so let's go over to the audience reviews. Heisenberg U gives Fallout half a star. He says, edgy for 2-year-olds. Effing garbage. Well, I'm not going to take my toddler to see Swim Fan and then go online and give it a bad review because I was stupid enough to take my kids there. What do you expect? What are you doing taking a 2-year-old to this film? Tilling C gave this movie a 5 stars. IFM will change the impossible into possible. Yeah, it's IMF, so if you're gonna compliment a movie, do it right. Attractions Fuegos Artificiales gives the movie half a star, says, all digital, bad direction, this is Hollywood decadence. My recommendation? Download for free. You hate the movie, dude, but still, your recommendation is gonna be to download it for free? I don't... Freddy Got Fingered was a pretty bad movie, and so I'm not gonna say to anybody that I know, love, or hate to download it and watch it. To take up their disk space. It's a bad movie. Avoid it altogether. OGND gives it 1 star, says, I have an irrational fear of heights. Most of the action scenes in this movie involve high places. So I have a fear of snakes. Should I just not watch Raiders of the Lost Ark? Like any human being, I'm scared of serial killers. But I still think Silence of the Lambs is a great movie. I'm scared of giant fish tanks. You know, the big tank at SeaWorld, but I still watch Free Willy. Now, before I get to the most honest reviews, here's the answer to the mystery review I read at the beginning of this video. In this movie's nostalgia for simpler times, a single-sex world seems to be a key component. This review came from Dave Kerr from Chicago Sun-Tribune, and the review was about 1993's The Sandlot. If you got it right, let me know down below, and if you didn't, tell me that it was going to be your next guess. Now, let's set the record straight with the most honest reviews of Mission Impossible Fallout. Fico Cangenio from CineExpress says, not only is it the best movie of the summer, it's also one of the best action films of all time. I'm going to leave you with that. Indeed, I do consider this one of the greatest action films of all time. If you enjoyed watching me put these naysayers in their place, then subscribe so that you never miss a video where I roast the critics or I give some theories about some of the movies you love most. If you can't get enough of Mission Impossible, I suggest you check out the Light the Fuse pod, where the hosts talk about all things Mission Impossible. Their link is down below, and if you want to keep this fun going, go ahead and click here to watch all of my Mission Impossible videos where I roast the critics who hate Mission Impossible. Except for Mission Impossible 2, I get a little passionate about that one. I will see you in the next video.